Welcome to the Afghanistan Project Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Bailey, and today I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Amna Mehmood. I want to give you her incredible biography. I still can't believe that I get to sit with you because the things you've done, Amna, are incredible. Dr. Amna Mehmood is a molecular biologist and senior scientist at Martin Luther University in Halle-Wittenberg in Germany. She received her master's and PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology from Jacobs University Bremen as a DAAD scholar and later studied cancer genomics and immuno-oncology at Harvard Medical School. After completing her PhD, Dr. Mehmood returned to Afghanistan to help establish the country's National Reference Laboratories Network, working to strengthen molecular diagnostics and research capacity on a national level. But behind her impressive scientific career is an extraordinary personal journey. As a young girl fleeing war in Afghanistan and growing up as a refugee in Pakistan, Amna's path was marked by instability, changing schools, and limited resources, often with little or no access to a laboratory. Her determination and love for science never faded. From those humble beginnings, she went on to help establish national molecular diagnostic laboratories in Afghanistan, contributing to her country's medical and research capacity during some of its most challenging years. Yet she transformed those challenges into purpose and leadership. Today, she continues her scientific work in Germany while leading the Resilient Afghan Diaspora Initiatives, a platform she founded to give voice to those silenced by conflict and to share the stories of Afghan resilience, strength, and hope across generations. Amna, I am just so pleased to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me in your podcast. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the reason that we're here actually initially is that you created a survey to understand the impact that the recent internet ban in Afghanistan has had on Afghans. And so I would love to understand what you found through that survey.
Yes, thank you so much, Beth, for giving a voice and amplifying our pains actually so that people can hear it. Why I started this survey. So when Afghanistan went black, dark, silence, I said, okay, can I also be silent like everyone else or just try to do something more systematic? Because I'm a scientist, I would like to know the data, what is happening. And also, I realized that the silence wasn't only about lost connectivity. It was about millions of voices being erased. It was, maybe it was just for a few days, but it was like a warning, a glimpse into what can really happen. So that was my aim, to really know how Afghans inside and outside Afghanistan are feeling, what they are going through, what are their fears, what are their recommendations, what they think, how can we help them as diaspora. So that was basically the aim. And I was surprised to get more than 100 respondents, because I thought, okay, the surveys, there are a lot, and most of the people, they are not just. But the good thing was that no one had to write their name and their emails. That's why I got some very strong and painful testimonies that I would also read it for you, that what was the whole thing. But the whole summary is that out of more than 100 respondents that we had, 40% were living in Afghanistan or living in Afghanistan. So I kept it open for a few more days because I wanted people to have the connectivity and be able to participate in the survey. But around 60% were from Afghan diaspora living in Europe, so in almost all continents. So we had people from everywhere in Europe, from Mexico, from United States, from Canada, from Brazil, from Morocco, from Egypt. And I was like, the pain that they are all going through, the fear, it's the same. So that's basically the contribution that they had, so 60-40. And I have here some of them. So during the blackout, 97% of the respondents, they had complete cutoff from communications. So that means it was not even a slightest possibility. The only 1% managed to have some connectivity were people living on the borders. Those who are living close to Pakistan, maybe, or to other borders that we are to our neighboring countries, they could somehow get some connectivity. And there was, I think, a couple of people from different NGOs who had satellites so they could connect to Starlink. So it also shows what people, like how diverse was it. They tried to find a way for themselves, but 97% of respondents, they had no connectivity at all. And so this blackout basically turned the whole country into a silent island, because the only information we get from Afghanistan is through media, is through internet. The only hope Afghan people have is basically their window to the world is this internet, especially for women, especially for girls, because that's not a source of communication or entertainment, how we use it in other part of the world, right? It is basically their school, their lab, their university, their drawing class, their tutor, their everything, their jobs, because some people are working online. So that's why the survey is really also close to my heart, because I want to give these people at least the chance to be heard. One person wrote that she was participating in an online class, and she had exams on those days and she couldn't attend it. Like, these are so human stories that in the chaos that is going on, they will be just, buried in background. So after partial restoration, the question was also, how is the connectivity now and how do you feel about it? So around 59%, so which is 60%, said the access is still very limited. They do have access, but it is very limited. And only 1% wrote that it's really improving out of this whole people that work there, right? So this is also important, that for some people, 1%, it's improving. But even if the connectivity is there, fear replaced hope, because internet is activism in Afghanistan. Internet is resistance in Afghanistan. We stand against everything based on internet because we use it to use our voices so people can hear us. We are no more those people living in mountains and caves and the image that Afghans unfortunately have. One person wrote that now that the internet works again, I scroll with fear. The connection may be back, but trust has not returned. Because if they have this ability to disconnect the whole country, they can definitely monitor you. The next part was, should I continue or we can? Yeah, okay. The next part
I'm loving this. This is really
because
good information.
I made a summary of what, like I did a statistics to find out what and how and everything using my scientific skills. So the human cost, that is the important thing, because it's not about statistics. It's not about the number, because every number is a mother, is a sister, is a daughter, is a person who has lost his hope. So that's why I wanted to know what is the human cost of all this. The top reported impacts reflected more than data. So they showed the breakdown of life itself, basically. Around 90% lost access to education. And that tells me the 90% are women. because I did not also use this option, if you're man or woman, just to give them more security that they can write and say whatever they want. Around 80% suffered psychological stress, fear, and isolation. In a country which is going through 40 years of war, 2 generations are born and grown up in war. For them, another psychological stress, another fear, it's unimaginable how these people are living. Then 72% of women's mobility and communication was completely restricted. So because they could not even call each other, because mobile services were also cut off, so they were also feeling super unsafe to be able to travel somewhere, go out of their home, what's happening, where we are. People, even within Kabul, they couldn't contact each other, within main cities like capital city. And it was also important to know that around 65% experience disruptions in their work and businesses. So it was mostly the people who were working with international organizations, and who were also outside Afghanistan. So they had communications with online schools or schools on the ground or hidden schools or things like that. And that was also, I was not actually expecting that 60% wrote they couldn't reach health services. I was not expecting that. But I read in one of the testimonies that there are some online NGOs that are connected with specialists in Europe, and they get their consultation there. So it's basically every aspect of life was affected. A mother from Kabul, she said, she did not write her name, but she wrote that I'm a mother. I lost the opportunity to build my future due to closing of universities in 2021. And now my daughter has lost her only way to attend school. My daughter cried every day because she couldn't join her lessons. Education was the only hope she had left with. This shows me that 2 generations, they are going the same loss of their future. And in other parts of the world, if you have off one day from your school, you will celebrate, right? You would have plans. Okay, today I will stay home, or I will go out. I will go out with my friends. I will buy something, or, you will have a lot of plans. But in Afghanistan, that little girl who is in 7th grade, she was crying because she couldn't go to school. Like you see it also shows the resilience that these people have developed over the years, right? So that was very, very painful, and I had to write it before compiling all the results on my page, because I thought that mother has trusted me, so she could write it. And when you're in Afghanistan, doing anything on internet can be very dangerous. People are afraid. And if she could take this much time to write this to me, I really have to tell it to the world. There was a volunteer doctor, he or she wrote that our telemedicine system went offline. We couldn't consult foreign doctors, and children's lives were at risk.
Yep. I heard about that too. Shabir Kabiri, who came on to talk about the impacts, had said that, but he was talking from the overarching sense, not from individuals. And so this just backs up everything that he said. And it's the human, like you said, it's not the numbers, it's the human stories of girls who, like you said, in Afghanistan, it's, can I please go to school? I've heard of girls saying, I'm just going to pretend to be the same age again so that I can do the 6th grade again, rather than being forced out of schooling. The desire to learn is so deep, especially when it gets taken from you. And there was something else you mentioned. Oh, the borders. I love that you were able to show that, because Shabir thought that that might be a way to work
Yes.
around this system, as if you were close enough to a border, you might be able to loop in. And, Starlink, obviously, he had said it's so cost prohibitive and it's got to be like individually obtained, basically. And so it makes sense that only NGO members with sat phones could use that as an option. It's not something. I had some very uninformed individual suggest that in the comments uh recently, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's
Exactly.
not something that just anybody can go, well, let me just tune in to Starlink. No. 97% of people, as you're saying, I'm sure that would, if you were, that's a sampling, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that that's probably pretty close to the
It
impact
happened. Yeah.
across the country. So
Yeah.
that's really incredible. What else? Is there anything else that you found? Any other stories that you want to highlight that kind of demonstrate the impact?
Actually, there are a lot of testimonies, but what I want to, because I also ask what are their ongoing challenges now that internet is back, and what Afghans are really asking for. So what do they think? How can we help them, or how can international community help them? So around 70% of the respondents say they still face unstable connection, fear of surveillance, and in rural areas, it's still a big problem. So that is something that, because I had participants from Kandahar, from Balkh, from Nangarhar, from Herat, so from Daikundi, from Bamyan. I don't know how they could find someone, but one of them wrote that I was trying to find where exactly on which rooftop I can climb so I can write you this. And that's why I'm here with you. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity that I can share this with the world.
Oh, I'm pleased to hear it. I think it's really important that people understand what that did. The telehealth, just imagine your
Yeah.
kid is sick and they were getting help and now they can't. It's heart-wrenching.
So what Afghans asked for, I asked them, what do you want people to do, the world, the international community, human rights, humanitarian organizations? So they said that advocacy for our freedom of expression. So we are free to express, and this digital right, I mean, I think they're asking for the least, right? Digital right. This is not a luxury. This is not a way of to entertain themselves. This is really their lifeline now. And digital safety training, which is like encryption, safe communication, and VPN, I think that's also a good way, because this way one can be proactive. This can happen again. Knowing them, it can definitely happen again. So it's better for the organizations who are working on the ground and online that they build these systems beforehand. So in case something like this happens, so they can prevent this kind of reaction. One person wrote, "We don't need pity. We need the world to keep us connected because connection is survival." So yeah, most of the report is basically, I will also publish the whole report with all the data that people can access. Of course, there are no names and all the other details. But I think as diaspora community, as a person, as an Afghan, this is important that we help them and be like a bridge between the silence and the world, because we are closer to them. We understand their pains, we understand their worries, we understand we have the same roots. Somehow we are fortunate enough to be in a safer land. So I think we should use this opportunity and this position that we have just to amplify their voices and use it to help them.
I think that's absolutely the most important thing that can be done. And I'm glad that you are doing it. Uh, is there anything you want to add about, the current internet situation? I know that like social media sites were banned earlier in the week that we're filming, which is the week before this will appear
Yeah.
to the audience, but it seems that those social media bans have been lifted. Um, and once again, as you said, this is not, Afghans aren't just scrolling Instagram for reels.
Yes.
I mean, I know that they're looking for information, they're looking for help to get out of their country, they're looking for, a job, they're looking for this is a lifeline for them. So do you want to add anything about that recent ban and what that might have done
I
inside the
think
country?
this blackout was a temporary disruption. This is how they would like to put it, that yeah, there was some technical problems. But what I feel and what people on the ground, what they are going through and the restrictions they are facing, it's not that internet is 100% free and they can access any website or any social media like they want to. It's not like that. At least this is what the survey showed us. It was a warning, a glimpse of how quickly rights can be vanished. Yeah, when connections disappear. So that is something important for the international community to understand. We can do whatever we want here, but if we cannot do something on the ground there and really help them, that would be, yeah. Um, one of the one of the respondents, she wrote that she's a student. She was a student in university, but she was attending some online classes and she was learning through online classes. And she's like, it's mostly the learning. It's mostly the learning. It's mostly the education. So you see what they want, basically, the right to learn. And that also, like, the least is online, right? Because the education you get when you're in presence, that's a bit different, right? You learn from your colleagues, you learn from the environment, from the atmosphere, from everything. But that's the least they ask for. Yeah. At the end, I just want to say that the survey, every number, every click is a person, a human behind it. It's a story. And how they manage these 40%, I was not expecting them to be able to write it. How they managed to fill the survey, it tells me that they can risk their lives to be heard. In the survey, there were two people. One was, I don't know the names, but it was from, he had SIV application. And he said that if internet is gone, it is very easy for Taliban to kill someone like me, and then no one will know that. There were people with P2 applications from Afghanistan, and like those are the allies, those are the people who really help the international community to establish themselves and to work in Afghanistan. So it's a combined pain. It's for Afghans within the country and outside. But also, some of the respondents are not only Afghans, they are internationals like you who have worked with Afghans and who have experienced it. One of the lady, I assume from the testimony, said that two of my foster daughters are in Kabul, and I had no connection with them for days, and I didn't know if they're alive, if everything is fine, what's happening. So, yes, that's
the the pain has just spread.
yes.
It's you see, the messages I got during that time were from people who I care about because I know them as humans, right? Not as numbers. And just like you said, this is the human story. And they were just so terrified that they couldn't get in touch with their families. And what if the Taliban were coming for them? And what, just so much fear. And that to me is unconscionable. And then like it just, yeah, it radiates to all of us who care, as the world is mostly silent except for those of us who are in that network of pain. I'm so glad you're doing this. I'm hoping it will illuminate some things for people and show the impact of this. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, I would love to hear it. But if not, I would really like to hear your story of, being a refugee and then coming to the point that you have. I mean, you've done incredible things. So I'll let you tell me which of those is more proper for the moment.
I think I just want to add one more line here, one more
Sure.
thought about this to close it up. So the conclusion of this survey is that humans are completely cut off from their loved one, from their education, from their businesses, from all different aspects of their life. And it was not just in big cities, but also in rural areas. Internet is definitely not becoming accessible 100% to everyone. So that is very important that we know that's what people are telling on the ground, right? And the international community and Afghan diaspora, they are ready and willing to help, but they don't know how. And that's why I think people like you who have the platform, who are helping people in reaching more ears, that would really help if we can publish this survey so it can be used for different purposes. And we have very less systematic data collection, which I would like to work on in future as well. So that was my closing point on that.
Yeah, I think it's so valuable to be able to show this in a scientific and also human way. I mean, that's what I've been trying to do from 2021 on, is explain percentages and numbers, but also make people aware that every number of, Afghans in the SIV program, everyone is a human, just like you, just like you. And they are hurting, and their family members sometimes have been murdered. And, just, I don't want the world to not hear those stories. It is incredibly important. But if you can assign numbers to them too and show that this person represents this much percent of the population, that just, those two things together are so powerful. I think you're doing an incredible thing, and I will certainly share any other surveys that you create in the future. And I think that they will be so helpful. There's so little attention being given to what's going on right now. I know that the UN Special Rapporteur is trying to do a great work, Richard Bennett. But he's one person with a team, yes, but you can't just hope, you have to do what you can. And I think it's just very admirable what you're doing. And I think that the results show really important things. And the more that these forms can get filled out in the future, the more important information you can collect, as you know, because that's what you do. So, yes. So let's talk about you. What was you were born in Afghanistan. What was your youth like there?
Yes, so I'm born in Afghanistan, and I was around 5, 6 years old when we had to flee Afghanistan and come to Pakistan. And so I have those 5 years of my life in Afghanistan. And then in Pakistan, we were refugees, and our parents did a great job in keeping us safe and having a shelter for us. We were not really touched a lot by the outside world, but now looking back, I can see what they would have gone through. But the thing that we had was, because of the uncertainty and also the political condition of my parents, we had to move from one place to another, one place to another. And in my life, I changed 8 or 9 schools. And I did so in Pakistan, the schooling system is that you have till 10th grade, you study in a school, and from 10th onwards, so it's called O level and A level, and outside, and from there on, so 11th and 12th, it's A level and it's in a college. So when I was doing my 10th class, that was like the last exam that I had to take. For 2 years, I was in a school that had no lab. I had one teacher, and he was teaching me maths and physics. And as a 13 and a half years old, I was responsible to learn all the other subjects by myself. Now when I look, I have a 12 years old boy, and I'm very concerned about all his studies, how all those things, I think now it's not imaginable, but somehow I passed with really good grades. And I went to a really good college. So my college it was the first time I was seeing labs, and I was looking at, we had a lecturer for every subject. I was like, is it even possible? Is it really even possible? So it was like something in my dreams. In 2007, I went back to Afghanistan the first time as an adult. I was going back to experience everything for the first time, because it's for the first time seeing Afghanistan and experiencing it as an adult. There, I worked in different organizations. I worked with civil services. I worked with HealthNet. It was an international NGO. But I always wanted to study. Because I knew I studied biotechnology in bachelor's, and when I went to Ministry of Higher Education to get my documents certified and went to the university, they told me, why did you study this subject? You don't need it. And you can imagine, for a 22, 23 years old girl, it's like, I was thinking they would be super happy someone studied biotechnology. It's so important. But okay. I always knew that there was no master's program at that time. There was nothing. So I started learning German language, not because I ever knew I would come to Germany. It never occurred to me. It was just something that, since I'm not studying, I'm just working, I should not waste my time. Yeah, I think this is something with Afghans, because they are somehow so thirsty for knowledge because otherwise, now I think when I see my friends here, they say, okay, you work, that's enough, no? It's a full-time job. Yeah. And people were asking me in my German language, why are you learning the language? Because I had to go there. It was in Goethe Institute in Kabul. I had to go there at 5:30, so early before my before my work starts, because that's 8 work started. So I had to tell them, because most of them were spouses of people who were living here, and they had to learn the language. So I had to tell them, yeah, because I will go to do my master's in genetic engineering. I had no idea that was ever gonna happen, but I was after it, and somehow I got a forwarded email from a friend who was working in Ministry of Higher Education, and there I saw it's a scholarship, DAAD, so it was like German exchange scholarship, and I was like, okay. I got it in 2008. It took me 1 year to complete everything, and I sent it to them because I also had this German language skills. I contacted the university, so I did a lot. I submitted this much of documents. Okay. And then I got it. I came to Germany. I did my master's. I got invited to do a PhD. That was something I could not imagine. So my PhD supervisor is Professor Matthias Ulrich. I told him that I can promise you that I will work very hard, but I don't know anything in the lab. And he was someone who personally taught me how to do everything from the beginning to a master's student. And within a year, he invited me to do a PhD in his lab. So the mentorship that you get along the way, that shows that if you get the opportunity and the right mentorship, one can really grow. I did my PhD. I went back to Afghanistan on a project from the Global Fund and partly from World Health Organization. I was working as senior molecular biologist in a Ministry of Public Health. So there we worked on establishment of national reference molecular diagnostic labs. So I trained more than 300 technicians. I traveled to different provinces. I was everything. So I was training, I was establishing curriculum, I was working in the lab. I was very excited actually because I could do it. I was not that little girl anymore. I could go back and I had some knowledge, some energy to deliver. And the labs, so those labs are now active. I'm still in contact with them. During COVID, they have done a great job. Some of the people even wrote me, why it is called this virus? Like, because I was still, if they need anything, I'm there. It's not just that my contract has ended and the connection is always there. Yes, and now I'm in Germany. I'm doing I did a postdoc. And during the time, I also, because my research focus was establishment of actually development of reporter proteins for early diagnosis of cancers through photoacoustics. So it was a very interdisciplinary research area, and I had to take some courses and I had to study a bit about this whole subject. So, and that's why this Harvard Medical School, and it was an online course that I did with them. Here in Germany, I'm engaged in teaching and establishing the labs. I led the projects. But every time when I see an international student, I tell them this story. You see, you work hard and you will reach wherever you want. It's not easy, but it's worth it. At the end, you will see that, okay, you can do it. There would be ways to do it. So I'm very happy if I get a class with international students, because the first half an hour is just advice. What to do, how to do, at what time to come, what does punctuality means in German time, how to talk to a professor, how to talk to your colleagues, what to do when you come to the class, before the class, after the class, how to communicate, because these are the things that we don't know back home a lot. And it's not in Afghanistan, it's basically the region, because it's a different cultural and education system. I just want to, so this is my story, but why I'm exactly telling my story? I'm 41 years old and I have never ever been on media because as a scientist, I love my job. I want to work in the lab and I have a full-time job. I have 2 kids. I'm very busy. Why I want to tell my story and and thank you for giving me this opportunity, is that the face that Afghans have now, it's not true. Maybe 1 in hundreds, maybe 1 in millions. But if you see in any community, Afghans are really working hard. They are doing their best to integrate to the best they can. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to, because if it comes from an Afghan who is established in the system, maybe that will be more heard. If it comes from an Afghan who was a refugee, maybe it will be more closer to the hearts. And another refugee girl somewhere would see okay, if Amna could do it, I can do it much better than her. And definitely, I'm sure about this. This is much possible. So I just want to add here a bit that I'm I'm working on this initiative, and the motto of this initiative is in Persian. Maybe your Persian audience will like it or understand it, but I will also translate it. It says in Persian, از ضعف به هر جا که نشستم وطن شد. از گریه به هر جا که گذشتم چمن شد. It means in my weakness, in my pain, wherever I sat, I made it my home. I made it my homeland. I start building brick by brick, step by step. The second part says, وَزْگیریه به هر جا که گذشتم چمن شد. And from my tears, wherever I passed, they blossomed into gardens. So this poem is from 1618, but it shows the Afghan spirit, basically. And that's my motto. That's what I want to show the world, the people, that we really, I mean, the diaspora that came 4 years ago, my mother and my sister is part of that. They could have come to Germany a long time ago, but they did not. My sister did her master's. She went back to work in Office of President. And there, on 15th of October, on 15th of August, when everything crashed down, in October they had to be evacuated. They are in Sweden. So my sister, she has a master's. She has experience of working here in Germany. She started from zero, learning Swedish language. It's a very difficult language, almost like German. And she's, they are building from zero. So my mother is 60 years old. She was a retired teacher. She was at home. She's in Sweden. She's learning the language for last 3 years, and she's doing a part-time job.
That's amazing.
I mean, the resilience, when I look at my mother, I'm like, yeah, and they never wanted to come to Germany or to any other European country. They were settled. They were happy. This is just 2 of these stories. I know like them, hundreds of them who are really struggling to, but also trying to do something. So the language, the culture, the qualification, job, internships, you count it. It's unimaginable for a 60-year-old woman to start from zero. From a person who was working in Office of President, she was a director, and then come here and start looking for internships.
It's incredible. Like you say, the resilience of that. Very few people have been able to leave Afghanistan and start over where they were. It is that translation of like, okay, now I have to get a credential that I didn't have because or I have to, there's a lot. I have to learn the language. But it happens. It gets done. And like you say, Afghans aren't like, oh, peace out. I'm ready to get rid of my homeland. Like Afghans love Afghanistan. There is a love of homeland among Afghans that I envy. It's beautiful. And so it is so interesting. The diaspora has that desire to be reconnected, and now that's not a safe thing to be, but you bring it with you. I love that poem. That was really, really beautiful. I wanted to say ausgezeichnet, but there was no time to bring that in. I used to speak some German. It's been a long time, but that is like a lot.
Wir können auch auf Deutsch sprechen.
Ein bisschen auf Deutsch. I think that everyone would be like, why are you using now another language? The most common thing I hear from my listeners is, can you please have somebody translate into Dari and Pashto? And I'm like, well, then I wouldn't understand it. So we have this, but it's really incredible to be able to master all of those languages and master content across languages, and just that's a powerful thing that you have accomplished. And I just think about myself. If somebody had told me at the age of 17 or 18 that if I wanted to, take an advanced placement course, that I was going to have to teach the entire thing to myself, I would have said, forget that. Like, no, if somebody isn't going to teach it to me, why would I do that? I'll just go find something else to learn. I was so spoiled with that. And it's very impressive to me that that is what you did. And you said, well, I'll just teach myself.
I don't know how I did it, but thought this is the only way that I go,
Yeah.
because my school was it was what my parents basically could afford. I was going to other schools, the good ones, once per year to take the exam and to see their entrance exam. If I pass, I knew I will not go get an admission there. But if I pass, it means that I'm doing good. So this was my criteria, to go through an entrance exam to a school, a big one, just to know if I'm doing well or not. But these stories, this is almost everyone, every Afghan that I know, they have gone through it. We had to somehow find ways for ourselves. And I don't want them to go through all these things in silence. So the generation, my generation, maybe we have gone, but the ones that are coming now, they should think that there are some people who can help them, who can support them, who will listen to them, who will understand them. So two generations cannot go through the same pain.
That's definitely what is hoped. I watched a video, a young woman I just love to pieces who teaches Afghan girls, and she had shared a video of a young Afghan girl talking about how she wants to be a heart surgeon. And, that's a hard thing to try to accomplish inside of the Taliban's Afghanistan. But as my friend wrote in a comment on it that was, anyway, she said that she was going to basically break herself to make sure that that would happen for this girl and for all the other girls. And this is why your story is extra important, because you have done it and they want it just as much as you did, right? They are teaching themselves, they're struggling through internet bans and through hopelessness, because it's not just, this hit me. It's so basic. And yet somehow I think I forgot it for the last 3 years. It's not just that you can't get the education. Like, what happens next? To pursue that education, knowing that you're never going to take the medical examination inside of Afghanistan. You're never going, if the Taliban stay in charge. So to pursue that and put that in, you have to have so much faith. Yeah. And you have to know that even if that faith is misplaced, like you would rather be educated than not. I mean, it's just the hope. And that is beautiful, because there was a lot of hopelessness in the early days from women who would reach out to me on LinkedIn and they would tell me, I just sit in a dark corner all day. And I worry that some of them, they've gone off my radar, and I worry about what happened to them. But then there are so many who are just saying, you're not going to keep me back. Even if there's no hope here, there will be hope somewhere else. I have like women who are almost militant in my inbox, like, help me get a job. And I'm like, honey, I would love to do this. Yes, but like, I'm also trying to maintain my own life, and I can't do that, but I want you to do that. Like, I want it for you. And anyway, I'm blabbering now, but it's just, it's great to see the success that you represent and that so many Afghan women have achieved and will continue to achieve, because they know what it means to work hard for it.
I want to add here something, that there is something very special with Afghan mothers. They are incredible because they somehow sow this seed in you. So my mother, she was an activist, and she worked very hard for women's rights and 8th of March, and she was working lady. She had 4 kids and doing everything. And then she had to come to Pakistan and do everything all over again. But what I saw in her and what she taught me is that if you work hard, you will get it. She didn't know no. And that is something that I learned it. And I think this is something innate in Afghan mothers. They teach their children, especially girls, that everything is possible. You just go after it. So they really give you not just wings, but they are the air beneath your wings. They make you go up. So I'm really grateful for my parents, my mother, who has been a role model, an incredible role model. I did my PhD on 8th of, so I defended it on 8th of March, and I dedicated to her because without her, it wouldn't have been possible even to know that something like this is possible. So yeah, I just want to, Afghan mothers. I mean, they are incredible. All mothers, now that I'm a mother, I know all mothers, but Afghan mothers, they see the suffering of their kids and they don't pat them like, huh. They say, no, 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 no. You wipe up your tears and you go ahead. This is part of the journey. And my mother is one of those incredible women that I wish to be somehow like her if I could be.
You sound like you are like her, trying to find the places where you can help and the things that you can do. And I appreciate all of that and what you've brought here. Is there anything else you want to share? I don't know, about maybe the struggles that the diaspora are facing or the good things that are anything. Amna, the floor is yours if I didn't ask you something and you want to bring it up.
Yes, actually, I want to talk about my plans. And if there are people who are listening to me and maybe they can help me in building this up, and you also, I would be very happy because I'm not from the field. I'm not from advocacy. I'm not from media. I'm a scientist. So everything is very new, and I just want to use my platform to do these things. So my plans are basically collecting and sharing stories of ordinary Afghans across continents. So it's not about only scientists, even a person who could make a respectable position for themselves. That says, so if someone is starting from 0 and reaches 70, right? And another person is starting from -80 and reaching 30, this is a journey. And that needs to be heard. People needs to see that. The second thing is that creating support and educational links. So I'm trying to, it's mostly about science, but to get certificates that are credible. So it means that they are certified by an organization. So if these people get a chance to come outside or somewhere, that these certificates are recognized, right? So their time is worth of all the stuff that they're doing. Because now that I'm in the system, in educational system here, everything that you study will not be recognized. So that's something that I'm working towards, accreditation of certain courses. And giving a voice to those silenced inside Afghanistan. So the people who are there and their only hope is us. And that's what I want to do with your help, with the help of Afghan community and diaspora, to work on projects that really help people on the ground. I really like people who have another profession and they are working to help others. Because if you keep your personal interest aside and then your passion, that's something very meaningful. Then you can devote yourself differently. And that's what I want to do. Yeah. So I want to show people that we are resilient, we are hardworking, we are all not the people who are running away from their homeland. You are forced to leave with just one pair of clothes. So this situation is unimaginable, and I just want to show these stories to the world.
That's so valuable, and I'm hoping that people will hear that and want to help. And I think it's great though, like you say, if it's your passion and it's the thing that's not what you do, but each of us comes to it with what we do. You come to this with your scientific background, which gives you the ability to create something different than I would create. And yes. I just think that, yeah, when we put those powers together, that's, I think, when advocacy is at its most efficacious. So I love that. And I always tell people, if you had told me 4 years ago that I would be where I am today, that I would be devoting so much of my time to freely helping other people, and that it would be the most valuable thing I've ever done in my life, despite making no income. I don't think I would have believed it, but
Yes.
it's true. Helping other people will give you more purpose, more satisfaction, more just knowing that as a human, you're part of something so much bigger than you. I would recommend it to anyone. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. So, other than having my kids, that is the best thing I've done in my life. But this is a very close second. So, Amna, it's been so great to have you, and I'm so excited to see what you do next and who decides to come aboard and work on this with you. It's really valuable. So, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Beth. It was great talking to you, and thank you for your time, for your efforts. As an Afghan woman, I highly appreciate it.
Happy to be here as always. I would not be anywhere else right now. I want to thank everybody who listened today, and Tasha Koren, hope to see all of you again soon.